Welcome to the October edition of EU Talk. My special guest is Mariela Yayet Agnes.
Yes, that's correct, Ambassador.
Who is currently, and I will read that out, the Director for Strategic Portfolio and Awards Management of Save the Children Philippines. So welcome and thank you for being here. EU Talk is our way to engage with young personalities in the Philippines. So let me start by asking maybe about your childhood. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
Yes, first of all, Ambassador, thank you for having me here in your show. So I grew up in Alabang, so it's still part of Metro Manila. So most of my life was spent there. But when I went to college, I went to University of the Philippines, Los Baños, so south of Manila, where they have the most famous buko. So after college, and I went back to Manila to pursue my master's degree and then my work in various organizations.
Excellent. So you went to UP Diliman?
For my master's
for
in
master's.
technology management. And then for my BS, I went to University of the Philippines, Los Baños in Laguna.
Excellent. And what did you study?
I studied biology, major in genetics. So some people might say that it's, what am I doing here, right? Because it's biology, yeah.
And what is your job exactly? What do you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, so it's Strategic Portfolio and Awards Management. We call it SPAM. So we are the meatiest unit in Save the Children. So we handle all the opportunities that comes our way. I also actively seek for opportunities for Save the Children. And I would say that I am the middleman or the bridge between development partners like the EU and Save the Children Philippines. So I have direct contact with the program officers of the EU and ECHO. What did
inspire you to join the organization Save the Children?
Besides my love for children, so I really like kids. When I was in the university, I actually took up some master's degree in special education. So children are really close to my heart. So when there was an opportunity with Save the Children, I tried my luck. So luckily, I was able to come in and I learned really a lot from Save the Children. You know, the advocacy on child rights and having children at the center of everything that we do is something that I've learned within the 6 years that I'm with Save.
How would you characterize the situation of children in the Philippines?
This pandemic has really been difficult for children. It's almost 2 years, 2 school years that they have been doing this online. So it was a great shift for them. I think they've lost a lot, especially when dealing with other children. So it has affected them really. And they have identified various children's issues that they would want the government to really do some work on. Right?
The Philippines is one of the few countries in the world, one of the 2 countries in the world to be precise, where face-to-face education is no longer the order of the day for our kids. What would be the main consequences for the kids?
Yes, I think having had the face-to-face already had consequences on the quality of education that the children are having. Now with, online and the children in the Philippines, as you know, not everybody have the internet and the gadget to learn online. So it really affected the access and the quality of education that the children are having.
In terms of advocacy, Save the Children is both a development actor, but also an advocacy as a CSO in the Philippines. What is the advocacy part in terms of education of the kids at the moment and the face-to-face education?
So we see Save the Children as a child rights organization. So we have been pushing for blended or face-to-face classes as much as possible together with other CSOs in the Philippines. So I know that the Secretary just announced that they will start the blended learning. So we're just waiting for the list of schools. So this is one of our advocacy. So aside from that, of course, our advocacy is child rights. No? As I've mentioned earlier, we want children to really claim their rights for themselves. No? So we want them to lead and to be included in the discussions about their rights.
All right. How do you see the future of a youth organization and children organization or children advocacy in the Philippines, if you were to project yourself in the next 5 or 10 years?
I think the dream for Save the Children Philippines is really to encourage more CSOs, more groups, and really have a constituency building on child rights, no? So that there's a discourse, there's a conversation on what child rights is and what should Filipino children be experiencing as their basic right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of support do you get from the parents in the country, apart from the public authorities?
Mm-hmm.
They're also the parents. How do you mobilize the parents for the children's rights and the future of your organization as well?
Yes, so we see the parents are as co-teachers to the children, right? Mm-hmm. So we have programs for parents wherein we provide them capacity building to ensure that they are able to guide their children, both in education as well in health, as well as in their health and nutrition. So we also work with parents really closely and have them in groups. And, that's the start of the constituency building and educating them as well about child rights.
And what about the donor community in general? We can talk about the European Union. I think we are part of that group.
Yes.
How do you see the future of your collaboration with the donor community? Would you assess the current state, and what do you see in terms of evolution?
Yes, I think our personal relationship with the donor community, especially European Union, is good. So you really see European Union as our ally in pushing for human rights, including children's rights. No, so I think we have been lucky to have projects funded by the EU, and that's a good start of our collaboration. For other donor community, I think they still provide support to the Philippines, not only to our organization, but to other development organizations.
For our listeners, could you explain what the contribution of the EU was and what, in concrete terms, did they bring to the table?
Okay, so for Save the Children Ambassador, so that's one of my first projects actually with the European Union. It's called Spaces for Peace in Mindanao. It's actually in the SPMS box. I'm not sure if you're familiar. So I've been there. So we were able to provide support for the communities to form spaces for peace for children. So that was before the pandemic. This is where children could converge and discuss about their issues and their rights. And we were also able to form children's groups and women's groups through the funding provided by the European Union. And you'd be happy to note that these groups are still active. We actually tap them in various humanitarian work that we also do, also funded by the ECHO, by European Union.
By the European Union. And how do you see the future of this collaboration? Where could we improve our collaboration?
I think I would go, Ambassador, to really strengthening the government institutions and organizations who are tasked on human rights. To really look into human rights and children's rights and work with them. And aside from that, I hope we could continue to work on education. So we have been talking about education because I think that's a basic children's rights, no? And if children are educated, they're also protected. And lastly, partnership. So we are working with local CSOs as well, and I know that the EU is very much supportive of this. So partnership is part of our theory of change. So it would be good for us to further strengthen these local CSOs and also be added in the constituency of human rights.
Excellent. If you were to mention what one particular project you're very proud of, one particular project that you could single out as a particular pride, what would that be?
So aside from the Spaces for Peace that I've mentioned earlier, we have an existing project in Samar, in Eastern Samar. It's a long title, sorry, Ambassador, I don't remember it. But it's really what I call advocacy put into action. So after the Hayan, we worked, the Save the Children pushed for the RA 10821. it's a Children's Protection Act, which ensures that children are protected before, during, and after an emergency. So whatever is in the law, it's put into action in Eastern Samar through the help of the EU. So we have passed already provincial ordinances that will ensure the implementation of the law in that area.
Okay, so you see the future more as well in terms of from the practical world to the advocacy as well.
Yes,
this is the future.
Yes, I think so, Ambassador. It's important to really build the constituency in terms of our advocacy, because everybody should be part of this advocacy, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much. Is there a question that I didn't ask you that you wanted me to ask?
I think, what can the EU do for the development sector? But maybe one request from my side, Ambassador,
Absolutely.
aside from pushing for education and the work that we are doing with the EU, it would really be good if the EU could also surface the children's issue with the different government agencies that you have, that you are working with. No, maybe it's a different also view if they hear these issues coming from the ambassador, coming from the EU.
Thank you very, very much for your suggestion. That was our edition for October, and I was so proud to have you, Yayet, today.
Thank you, Ambassador.
And thank you very much for what you are doing, and good luck.
Thank you.